The country, Kenya, faced one of the most emotive and intense protests when the Gen Z, the young people of the country, rose against the regime demanding accountability. And the protest that even saw young people storming parliament caught government unaware. And after weeks and rounds of moving and trying to occupy buildings and strategic structures in the country, it seems the dust settled. And in quite subsequent opinions, analysis, we've explained that the country is just enjoying passive peace. Now, the DCI has emerged with a new trend, and several human rights defenders and civil society organizations, which reportedly were amongst the leading figures in the protest, are facing scrutiny from the government due to their active role in monitoring and addressing government actions during the recent demonstrations. Wanjiru Gikonyo, a transformative governance expert, revealed on Monday morning that activists targeted by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and other agencies for involvement in tracking government excesses, police brutality, abductions, and arrests during the protest. The country's CEO, president, has maintained that police did a good job and they helped the country from sinking. But parents have been visiting mortuaries trying to look for the bodies of their lost kids who could not even be traced. And so it is not denial because the Kenyan police were captured on videos hitting Kenyans and of course using excessive force to crack down the protesters. So the new trend of DCI dispatching summoned letters to activists is one of the ways that is seen as a strategy to silence the country. According to Gikonyo, the human rights defenders were issued the letters from the government informing them of ongoing investigations and summoning them to report to DCI for interrogation. The basis of these actions, as stated in the letters, was to allege involvement of these activists in subversive activities. Gikonyo strongly contended that their actions were not subversive but rather essential in ensuring accountability and justice to all. The activists work primarily involved in monitoring the police how the police managed protest, providing legal assistance to arrested demonstrators, and pursuing cases of extrajudicial killings allegedly perpetrated by the police. Gikonyo emphasized that these leaders were actively engaged in legal channels, including taking cases to courts to ensure that arrested individuals received bail. In many instances, the courts released some of those individuals that were arrested to have participated in the protest without even charging them because the police did not have anything to charge the protesters for. And so hundreds of protesters that were arrested at the height of the Gen Z protest had to be released without being presented to court. The new summons by the DCI to the activists to answer some queries on what transpired in the country issued to these defenders sparked fears of a crackdown by civil society organizations and individuals who are dedicated to holding the government accountable for its action. I could stop government from probing civil society organization over allegations of funding the Gen Z protest, but it seems the investigators are stopping at nothing and they have disregarded that court order and now is issuing orders and summons to activists to answer queries. Justice Chacha Mwita issued those conservatory orders prohibiting the DCI from any further investigations of this. The court order came after Katiba Institute challenged the state to decision to launch a crackdown, a rhetorical campaign to crush these other, the civil society organizations. This is a very regrettable trend because the judicial service, the judicial system in the country should be able to achieve two things. Apart from justice to the innocent Kenyans that really were killed during the protest and in some instances, police were using extrajudicial means, it will also be, if the system works, it will also help the government to know and to put accountable these police officers that are denting the image of the service. And if they are interested in this, it will be one of the best things that should happen. But as a country, Kenya is setting a wrong precedence for this country. Because if we normalize a situation where police will use excessive force on hitting Kenyans and causing havoc in the public without accountability, then Kenyans will have to raise their voices against the oppressor. And that is the security forces. So we've seen instances where members of the public have emerged and now engaging in one-on-one fight with the Kenya police simply because they understand that the system does not work for all. So because the country is a country that is controlled by the rule of law, then the justice system should not be misused, and the president and the team should not allow the justice system to be misused to suppress such voices. One of the things that the country must appreciate is that the accountability, the good governance pitch that was staged by the Gen Zs in the country changed the political landscape. And actually the political elites have also changed their manners on how they're handling matters in public. So whether it can be a crackdown on individuals being blamed for it, but such suppression efforts might not really yield the fruit of making Kenyans, or rather the ambition of making Kenyans go quiet. In fact, if it is looking for justice, and if the police believe that they acted within the law, then any other effort that can be seen as an effort to try not to get justice for those who lost their loved ones, to get justice, is actually an act of saying, I am guilty, but don't investigate me. The IPOA and the team have been moving across the country, collecting evidence, and not even a single police officer has been presented in court to face any charges of extrajudicial activity. So now, the buck stops with the president. The DCI cannot get orders to arrest and summon those who they believe were behind the protest. But in the same equal measure, the justice should also work so that the rogue elements within the security sector, who also took advantage to settle political scores and maybe that got strange orders to kill, maim, and arrest and even abduct Kenyans, should also be brought to book. That is my take on the bold global news. Let's meet in the next.